The concept of last stands in history refers to desperate, valiant efforts by a smaller or outnumbered group to hold their ground against overwhelming odds, often with the understanding that defeat is inevitable. Such stands are typically marked by extraordinary courage and strategic resolve, transforming these moments of desperation into legendary tales. At the heart of last stands is the profound human drama of facing insurmountable adversity, which captivates mortal audiences and elevates these events into legendary status. This theme is significant in relation to the Spartans, who turned their defining last stand at Thermopylae into a symbol of heroism and sacrifice, immortalizing their culture and values despite the eventual defeat. The historical significance of last stands can be illustrated by the Spartan defense at Thermopylae in 480 BC, where a small Greek force led by King Leonidas resisted a much larger Persian army. This battle, though a tactical defeat for the Greeks, became a rallying point for Greek nationalism and a testament to Spartan valor and discipline. Another notable example is the defense of the Alamo in 1836, where a small group of Texan defenders held out against a larger Mexican force, becoming a symbol of resistance and sacrifice for the state's independence movement. These two moments demonstrate how last stands can galvanize collective memories and serve as foundational myths, imparting a lasting legacy that extends far beyond their original time and place. Opinions supportive of this idea suggest that last stands bring forth the highest ideals of courage and self-sacrifice, providing inspiration for future generations. They serve as powerful reminders of human resilience and the willingness to stand for higher ideals, even when faced with certain defeat. However, this romanticization of last stands can be controversial, as it occasionally downplays the associated loss of life or glorifies hopeless militaristic endeavors, which result in needless suffering. Alternative viewpoints raise concerns about the potential glorification of violence inherent in last stands. Critics argue they can be misinterpreted as narratives of negligence or poor leadership rather than defiance. Additionally, some suggest that promoting the idea of last stands may inadvertently encourage martyrdom and extenuate futile resistance. The allure of legendary last stands deeply influences the main topic by highlighting the transformative power of narrative in shaping cultural and historical memory. It underscores the ability of a defeated group, like the Spartans, to cultivate a legacy of honor and heroism that extends beyond their physical demise, paving the way for other facets of historical identity and cultural ethos. These narratives of ultimate sacrifice persist as leitmotifs in history, inspiring countless acts of bravery and unwavering commitment in the face of overwhelming odds. The concept of legendary last stands refers to iconic moments in history where a vastly outnumbered and outmatched force holds its ground against an overwhelming enemy. In these scenarios, the defending force often fights to the last man, sacrificing themselves for a greater cause or ideal. The Battle of Thermopylae, famously involving the Spartans, is a quintessential example of such a last stand. This concept encapsulates not just military valiance but also the enduring human spirit that chooses defiance over surrender. The significance of this point in relation to the main topic lies in how such acts of bravery transcend the immediate context of military defeat and resonate through the ages as powerful narratives of heroism and resistance. The last stand of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae is perhaps the most famous instance. Despite facing a much larger Persian army, King Leonidas and his men held the narrow mountain pass for 3 days. Their sacrifice, though ultimately ending in defeat, served a critical strategic purpose by buying time for the rest of Greece to organize its defenses. Another illustrative example is the Alamo, where a small American force held off a larger Mexican army in a stand that later symbolized resilience and the fight for independence. These acts echo through history, encapsulating the values of courage, honor, and patriotism. From an opinion standpoint, these stands are often celebrated as epitomes of gallantry and resolve. They inspire countless cultural depictions, from literature to film, emphasizing their righteousness and the sacrifice involved. However, this concept is not without its controversies. Some argue that glorifying these last stands romanticizes war and ignores the unnecessary loss of life. Critics point out that viewing these as outright victories in terms of moral success could overshadow the pragmatic need for strategic retreats or negotiations that would save lives. This point seamlessly connects to the main topic by demonstrating how such feats of valor, despite their tragic conclusions, cement a group's legacy and immortalize the values they fought for. They influence cultural narratives, military doctrines, and even collective identities long after the event. While the challenges remain in balancing the legacy's mythic qualities with historical realities, the concept of legendary last stands undeniably highlights the impact of human courage and determination against overwhelming odds, thus turning defeat into a form of timeless victory. The Battle of Thermopylae stands as one of the most enduring symbols of courage and sacrifice in the annals of history. Fought over 3 days in 480 BC at the narrow pass of Thermopylae, this confrontation between the vastly outnumbered Greek forces, primarily led by Spartan King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, against the massive invasion force of the Persian Empire under King Xerxes, is emblematic of grit and heroic resistance. It encapsulates the concept of a last stand, where outnumbered defenders mount a valiant defense against overwhelming odds, often facing certain defeat. This battle has transcended its historical moment to illustrate how defeat, through valor and legacy, morphs into immortality. The importance of Thermopylae to the main topic, legendary last stands, is quintessential. It set a precedent for how defiance in the face of insurmountable adversity can immortalize a culture, ethos, and people. The Spartans' sacrifice, while a tactical loss, became a strategic victory in galvanizing Greek city-states against Persian domination. Their story illustrates the power of narrative in shaping cultural memory and identity. 2 poignant examples underscore this. First, the cultural legacy in both ancient and modern media, like Herodotus' accounts and Hollywood's 300, have kept Thermopylae synonymous with heroism. Secondly, the battle influenced military thought. Leaders have invoked its spirit to inspire troops to commit fiercely to their cause, irrespective of the odds. The sentiment around Thermopylae finds support in various opinions. Leonidas's decision is lauded as an ultimate act of bravery, sparking a unifying resolve among Greeks. However, critiques also emerge. Some argue that the glorification of such stands promotes a tragic valorization of sacrifice over strategic prudence and could encourage unnecessary loss of life. Given these perspectives, controversies arise surrounding the extent to which such narratives should permeate military and cultural ethos. While admired, it prompts reflection on the cost of valor and the importance of evaluating the feasibility of sacrifice against its anticipated inspiration and outcomes. Thus, Thermopylae connects deeply with the broader theme of how legendary last stands transform individual or collective sacrifice into a timeless legacy. It reverberates through history, influencing both cultural identity and strategic military doctrines, highlighting how moments of profound courage can inspire countless generations. Whether celebrated as myth or critiqued for recklessness, the battle undeniably molds our understanding of heroism and resilience. One of the most fascinating narratives in military history is the concept of a last stand, epitomized by the Spartans at the Battle of Thermopylae. A last stand occurs when a small force holds their position against overwhelming odds, usually in a defensive battle, knowing their likelihood of survival is slim. Yet this seemingly futile resistance often leads to greater recognition and glory, capturing the imagination of history and leaving an indelible legacy. In the case of the Spartans, their last stand at Thermopylae embodies the paradox of achieving immortality through defeat. The significance of the Spartan stand cannot be overstated. It wasn't merely a military engagement, but a demonstration of valor and sacrifice that transcended the battlefield. By staving off the massive Persian army for 3 days, the Spartans and their allies bought crucial time for the Greek city-states to organize a more robust defense against the invaders, ultimately leading to Greek unity and eventual victory in the Persian Wars. Their defiance against insurmountable odds has been immortalized in history as a symbol of courage, patriotism, and the fighting spirit, reinforcing the idea that true heroism lies in standing firm in the face of certain defeat. Examples abound in history where last stands have played a pivotal role beyond warfare. Consider the Alamo, where a small group of Texan defenders resisted the Mexican army, galvanizing support for Texan independence. Similarly, the Jewish defenders at Masada opted for a valiant stand against Roman forces, choosing death over capitulation, which has served as a powerful cultural symbol of resistance and sacrifice in Jewish history. While lauded for heroism, last stands are not without their controversies. Critics argue they can represent a futile waste of lives when strategic withdrawal could preserve a fighting force. The moral implication of leaders knowingly sending men to certain death is another point of contention. Moreover, there's an argument that romanticizing such events may cloud the broader historical context, turning complex scenarios into mere legends. This concept is critical in understanding how stories of valor influence cultural identity and historical narrative. It connects to themes of duty, honor, and sacrifice, influencing how societies perceive and commemorate their past. By exploring legendary last stands like that of the Spartans, we come to appreciate the profound impact these events have had on inspiring generations, shaping national identities, and teaching the timeless value of standing firm for one's principles, even in the face of inevitable defeat.